waiting for some people to turn up. Here we go. Start this in here. Come back. Okay, sorry about that, folks. What happened was yeah, great. Okay, so what happened was I opened a template that was at a different sample rate to the one that I just did. So unfortunately, I think this is going to happen again. I'm going to have to do this, I think. So if I disappear right now, and I'm gonna sort this out in the future. We're figuring the live streaming out as we go along. Okay, this hasn't happened in the past. I've changed sample rates and it's not stopped the transmission. This time it did for some reason, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But anyway, I'm gonna have to change it back because I recorded that last thing at 96 kilohertz, and now I'm at 44.1, which is what stopped the transmission. So if this live stream stops right now, just go back to my channel wherever you are, if you're on Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, and yeah, I will see you there in a sec. Okay, so fingers crossed. Oh, it didn't do it that time. Woo-hoo! So anyway, as I said, figuring this out as we go along. Nobody knows what on earth they're doing in the world of music with live streaming. Anyway, this is why I'm doing this so much, because I think it's really important to sort it out. Anyway, so where was I? What was I talking about? Okay, so now what I do, this is all wrong. This isn't the right one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll just do one quickly. Okay. I've got everything coming out the wrong channels, of course, haven't I? That's all right. I'll just sort it out here. I'm not going to bother opening another thing. Okay, that. Oh, it's a bit chilly in here. I really need to turn some heating on or something. I'm a bit resistant to turning heating on in general, but cold hands. So I had some questions just before. Let me just answer them in a sec. I want to do this. Fabulous. No, I'm on an audio channel. Actually, I don't need to do that. Okay, I'll do it automatically. Okay, let's answer the couple of questions that I just had. Let's move back to this. Alright. Okay. It's a conspiracy to get more videos with more likes. Yeah, I don't think I get enough likes for that. might be working against me on that one. Right, question. Robert, interested in what tempo you used to record? Today I used, oh cool, that's a good point actually, I should have remembered, shouldn't I? I think it was like 1/3 something, I can't remember. I record at random tempos. I make music at anything from 300 BPM down to 20 BPM. So, so yeah, I just picked a tempo today, just randomly. Freisig, I'm one of the troubled ones that have 4 productions that I need to mix, but seems not to be able to man myself up to do it. So the thing to do there, Freisig, is just lower the bar. So you're thinking, I have 4 productions, I need to mix, right? And then you're thinking, what I need to do is man myself up in order to do it. Okay, that's not how to think about it at all, because you know I've tried to man myself up for years, and look at me. Not worked very well. so what I do instead is I go, what I need to do right now is I need to turn on the computer. Yep. So now I've turned on the computer. What I need to do now is open up this project. Okay. Then I do that. And then what I need to do is I need to listen to this thing. Actually, usually what I would do is probably not listen to the project. I would want to listen to an audio file of the project. But anyway, that's I'm quibbling now. So yeah, it's just think about the smallest step, not, oh, I need to mix 4 tracks. Yeah, think about what you're doing is I need to do a 30-minute session on this track. Yeah, mixing this track. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't get you going, then think about I just need to turn on the computer, or I just need to open up the project. Yeah, because then you will do it, and that will lead to the next step. Will lead to the next step. It's a big mistake to make a goal and then just focus on that big goal. You know, I want to become the world's greatest music producer, and then like have that in your mind when you wake up every morning. I mean, when you wake up every morning might be quite good, but when you're actually going to the computer, because it's just such a like an unmanageable thing, just make it a tiny, tiny step. Okay. Darren says, I have a question on samples, vocals to be specific. Do you gain clearance before working on a track and sending to a label, or do you send it to the label and if they like it, they will help with clearance? Depends what you want to, what you want to do. Presumably, what you're saying from that question is that it's not a sample that that label owns. In which case, I mean, I'm sure that if the label like it enough, they may well help with the clearance. But what they might also say is, can we re-sing it? Because it can be a real to clear samples. It's just like, you know, it's very, very. The music industry, in many ways, is stuck way in the past. It's ridiculous. You know, vast swathes of I'm not saying the entire music industry, but vast swathes of the music industry, particularly the kind of copyright publishing, all of that, you know, clearance end. So many labels, I mean, unless they're just like their brain explodes with joy at the sheer work of genius you've created, and there's no way that it can be anything other than this sample, they're likely to say, oh, too hard basket, or if they really like it, can you replay the sample or kind of do something similar? That is fairly likely. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I've answered your question exactly, but yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, for sure, they will help you with it if they want to do that. But, you know, labels at this point, I would say, I mean, it depends on what kind of label it is, how big they are and all that kind of thing. Labels at this point have quite a lot on their plates, so clearing samples might not be at the top of their list. Robert asks, are you working on a specific genre? Yes, it's called Mike Monday music, which is probably more of a style than a genre. I mean, I'm definitely working in the instrumental electronic area, I guess, but I'm not concerned about like writing house music or drum and bass. I'm a drum and bass guy, or this, that, or the other. I'm just making music using particular, you know, because what's the difference between a genre and a style? In fact, probably a better question is, what's the similarity between a genre and a style? Well, they're both the same thing in a sense, in that they are a category. Both of them are a category. Yeah? A genre is a category and a style is a category. The difference between a genre and a style is that, and this is what I mean, I don't know whether this is the dictionary definition, but this is just a helpful way of thinking about it. It's how I think about it. Okay. The difference between a genre and a style is that while they're both categories, a genre is an agreed upon category. I mean, it's not agreed like no one signed anything, right? But it's an agreed upon category by a bunch of people that certain elements, right? When they hear those elements, they go, okay, that's in that category. Okay, that's a genre. Okay, so it's an already existing agreed upon category by a bunch of people. Okay? What a style is a category that you agree upon with yourself. Okay, I'm going to use, and there's lots of different genre elements. There's tempo, you know, and it's weird. I mean, I think it's because of the dance floor, but in particularly in electronic music, the tempo seems to be like such a defining characteristic of each genre, and I do think it's because of DJs and the dance floor, which is great. I've got nothing against that because I was a DJ, but it's just that is very much a defining part of it. But a tempo, in many kinds of music, tempo isn't particularly defining of that genre. Yeah. More so these days than these days. I hate that phrase, but anyway, more these days than it used to be. But yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm rejecting tempo as something that is going to define my style. Yeah. Instead, I'm defining my style with other elements, because I've kind of come up with 12, and I won't be able to do all the 12 now. But there's melody, there's harmony, there's rhythm, there's instrumentation, there's sound design, which is slightly different to instrumentation. There's philosophy, if there's a message to it. There's I can't think of any more, but there's a bunch of them. Yeah. So by actually choosing certain of these elements yourself, yeah, you can create your own style. When people hear it, no matter what tempo the music is, they'll go, "Oh yeah, no, that's Mike Monday music," because it's the same thing as a genre, because it's a category. But you're just choosing your own, because and there's nothing wrong with this. I spent however many years it was, 17, 18 years writing music in genres. Yeah. But what I was doing then was I was writing music according to what somebody else had decided. Whereas now I'm attempting to write music, not 100%, but according to what I decide. And so that's how I'm thinking about what I'm doing right now. So, Dante. Mike, I remember your song That Beep Was from back in the day, and I loved it. Can you tell me anything about that song? Hello, Dave. I have it right here. Can I tell you anything about that song? Let's see. Let's see what it says. So I recorded it in a bike yard. So this was on Whoop Records, and actually I can tell you something. Funnily enough, this follows on from the genre conversation that I just had. So and by the way, all of these are all of the only bits of vinyl that I kept, because they all are things that I produced. I actually lost loads of the pieces of vinyl that I produced, but those are the only ones I've got left. So we've got here some really bad stuff in here. So there's one from Ohm Records, my DJ Remy remix, Velvet Girl. Oh no, that's something different. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can find the one. I've got a U2 remix here somewhere that I did, which is quite funny. Where is it? Oh, this is the first thing that we ever released. Beta Foundations. The first piece of record I ever made, and it's so old. It's just got a fax number on it, and it's called Beats 001. Beta Foundations. And that was played on Radio 1, I think, back in the day. I seem to remember. It was a really, really big moment, because obviously I've been listening to Radio 1 for through my life, and yeah. Anyway, so that track. What happened was, I was at that point, because I started out by making kind of progressive house, what was, Sasha style progressive house, Dig Reed, that kind of thing. And that was kind of like a reaction against the kind of house music that was being played back then in around 94, 95, which just had these massively long snare drum rolls, and there was very, very little music in there. And progressive house was a reaction against that. And there were, there was BT, there was Sasha, Blue Amazon, us, Beat Foundation, people like that. We were doing this kind of thing. It was one of the big moments of my life, actually, when I went to see Sasha and he played one of our tracks for about like half an hour, as Sasha used to do. Anyway, so that was where I started, and then I kind of got really disillusioned with progressive house, because everyone was so serious. Oh yes, it's very serious, and I was like, I can't deal with this seriousness. I mean, you might have noticed I'm not so serious anymore. So what I did was, I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to, I started listening to sort of defected type music, and this was about 1990. I can't really remember what it was actually. No, it's probably around 2000ish. So I started making some more kind of funky stuff, and that's when I started Kinky Vinyl. And then I got really disillusioned with that because it was just all glitzy, and and I'm not saying anything bad about these genres. I'm just talking about my own creative thing. I just found it just again dull, and I started hearing this electro stuff coming out of Berlin. I was absolutely blown away by it. I was just like, I'd never heard anything like it. It was kind of the resurgence of a sort of electro thing, and I was like, it was all a bit like for what, the kind of places I played though, it was very, very weird for what I was used to back then. Not so much anymore, but back then it was a bit like, ugh. So I was like, do you know what? How about we combine house with electro, so that I could actually play this stuff to the kind of crowds I was playing to, because I tried playing some of the stuff I was really into and it just would clear the floor every time, right? So I was like, but if I just do that, and that track, that beep was the first track I did that was in this new electro house thing that then became this kind of big beast that it became. But basically I remember there was a Mix Mag article about this new type of music that was coming out, and there was like, I think it was like top 5 or top 10 tracks, and that track was one of them. So, and it was weird because I wasn't talking to anybody else who was doing this. So there was me, there was Tom Neville, there was Martin, I can't remember what he called himself back then, King Rock, rest in peace, and look, wonderful chap, Martin. It was a real tragedy. He died. Anyway, so sorry, I just got off on the past there. So they were all, and I didn't know these people, but we all kind of had the same idea at the same time. It's incredible in music how this happens. You get people having the same idea at the same time. This is why it's really, really important, if you have a good idea, to strike while the iron's hot, to do it and get it out immediately, because that, combining two different things to create something new, that is essentially how new genres are created. Nothing is really new. You're taking elements from two different things to create something new. And the other lesson to take from that, because that was when my career really, really took off at that point. It was around 2005, 2006, when it was almost like I was at the beginning of that wave. In some way, I sort of helped create it. I'm not saying I am the originator or anything like that. It's just I helped, I was there and I did it. And that carried me a very, very long way, because I had the idea, I wrote the track, I got it out, almost like immediately, so I was at the beginning of this thing in London that happened. So, so Matthew's asking, what's the difference between your ideas folder, Splurge folder, and the Sketchbook folder? Sketchbook, not scrapbook, but then you wouldn't know that. Why would you know that? Okay, I'll just show you here. So this is part of the automatic music machine system, which is what I use to finish music. Oh man, why is Dropbox updating? I swear I quitted that. Sorry, I've got to stop this thing. There we go. Taking up the bandwidth, Dropbox. Right, here we go. So this is the automatic music machine system, and ideas are just ideas that just come to you in any, like when you're walking down the street. So I've got track, you can hear, I've got some track song titles here, also some here this says track song titles, and in the cards are various different track song titles, and then here Song Exploder, Night Jewel, and Song Exploder the microphone. So these are podcast episodes I've listened to where people are talking about their creative process, which gives me an idea. So these are just things I'm writing down, and also here's some different processes where I've kind of thought, okay, so here's some questions I could ask myself. Here, use, move, interconnect, alter, to kind of break me out of my, so any kind of ideas. Here we go, another DFAM jam here. So maybe if I'm walking down the street and I have an idea about combining something, I'll just sync something into there. So that's the ideas folder. The sketchbook is full of actually, so let me just back up a bit or go forward a bit. The splurge is basically how we start all ideas. Okay. And that's a specific thing we do. So that's what I'm about to do now. And then the sketchbook is where we keep all of the splurges and ideas that we're not working on at the moment. Okay, so a lot of these I'm never going to use. Yeah. And then discover, draft, and done is the in progress part of the machine, and each of these individual columns have different things that we do in them in order to get them done. And then release is where we release the music. So that's basically the automatic music machine. So there's a difference between all of those different things. Basically, it's a way, amongst other things, it's a way of figuring out what you're supposed to be doing when. Okay. So I'm just going to see if there's any more questions. You're hearing me from the computer mic. Sorry. Here we go. Hello, is that better? Phil, sometimes I record sounds with my phone, a small beatbox for example. I have saved them in ideas so far and not listened. Should I treat that like a splurge or try to use a recording in a splurge? No, I would save them in ideas. It depends. It kind of depends. If you're splurging, save it in splurge. If you're not, if it's just something you're doing as you're walking down the street, then put it in ideas. It kind of doesn't matter, but kind of ideas are more. They're not like specific. You're not specifically splurging. Pan, did you have some resistance from your environment when you said you wanted to do something with music, and how did you overcome this? Are you saying? I guess you're saying people rather than my environment. Yeah. Like this little mouse came up to me and said, "Mike, please don't do this." Or like my microwave was like, "Ooh!" I heard it going, "Mike, don't do it." I presume you're not saying that. Yes. I mean, a lot of people have told me that I'm crazy and why are you doing this? It's not working. And for vast swathes of my career, it hasn't worked. It's been a complete disaster. I've had lots of ups and downs. So there has been a lot of times when everything seemed to be against this dream of making music. Possibly more often than not, in fact. But really, it was. I stopped making music for 8 years. And now I'm back to it now after having coached people and almost found I don't know whether it's all the solutions, but found many of the solutions to the biggest problems that stopped me. One being the creative process problem. It was very, very difficult to finish. And the second being the business model problem, which is how do you make music without being reliant on unsustainable touring? Those two problems, I essentially know the solutions to those problems now. So it's why not continue making music? And I love doing it as well because I can now do it and help people at the same time, which is just almost like the center of the bullseye for me. It's I've managed to immensely grateful to have found this thing that I'm doing now. But at every stage of the process, there has been many things telling me don't do this. I mean, in general, the people around me have been relatively supportive. I've not been telling you must not do this, but then I think that's partly down to the fact that I've just ignored that. So it's not been that important. I'm sure if I'd had my radar on for that kind of thing, then I would have given up many times. But I'm a stubborn bastard at the end of the day, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to give up. Right? And there is really in success. It's not just about this, but when I say, and I would hesitate to say the word success in relation to me, but in kind of getting what you want out of life, there is an element of just not giving up. That isn't to say don't change what you're doing, so kind of don't be flexible, There's a difference between not giving up and change and not changing at all what you're doing. Because if what you're doing isn't working, there's probably something you need to change about it. But it's about knowing what you actually want and then not giving up on that. Yeah. I do think that there is an element of truth to success equals not giving up. Freisig, would you recommend a record label deal or just a distribution agreement if you've done all the production, mixed and master, cover graphics, or just use a portal get your music out on streaming services? It depends on the record label, but I would definitely say you need to have an outlet to own your own means of distribution. And when I say that, you basically have a way of getting it out yourself. Particularly in the modern world, there's no reason not to, really. Okay, I mean, why not? Because then, I mean, consistency and frequent releasing for any artist really, but particularly a up-and-coming artist or an aspiring artist is absolutely essential. You cannot rely on labels to do that for you. You'd be very, very lucky if you were able to do that. You probably, finish something and it will be out in maybe 2 years or a year or something. So you can't put the health of your career in the hands of something that you don't control. So you do need a means of distribution, but if you get an offer from a really good label, like one of my masterminders, he's been releasing music on his own label for a couple of years. In fact, it was pretty much the first thing I got him to do when he joined my mastermind groups, and we've been working towards that. And so he's been doing this for 2 years. He's on YouTube as well, actually. He's called Tony Tyson, so he makes kind of dark techno kind of stuff. And he just got a label that he's really, really into, just got in touch with him to ask him for music. So this, you've got to get, the music is what is going to build your business. So you need to get the music out consistently. Just making it is half the battle, getting it out as well. And so that's why you need to own the means of distribution. Yes, it was me. I was being Beat Foundation. Me, Andy Cato from who became Groove Armada, Dan Hewson, who is now a jazz pianist last I heard he was in Portugal, I think, and then Malloy, who was a singer, and Patrick, who was a percussion player. So no, it's okay, Pan. I understand, and I'm only pulling your leg about the microwaves. Okay. Yeah. So just ignore. If you really want to do something, then nobody can tell you not to do that. I mean, they can. They're free to, but you don't need to pay any attention to them. I mean, there is information to be gained in things not going right. So it's not just like, I will continue doing the same thing and I'm not going to listen to anything. Listen to people, but just ignore it and move forward. So my audio is dropping out apparently. Is my audio dropping out for everyone else? It's unfortunate. Anyway, I'm going to get back to this. So I'm now in 96, so that should work. And let's find this audio file. Music machine. You see, I've got an extra folder here because I'm doing I'm doing music with my little kids as well. Chimp recording. Sorry, go. I'm going to have to stop soon, so I probably won't do a very quick. I'll have to do a very quick splurge here. Yes. 128. There you go. I was doing it at 128. Okay. So now let's have a listen back, and let's do a quick splurge on the first bit. Okay. Sounds a bit quietish. Yeah, it's sorry folks. It's because the reason I was late to this live stream was because I finally got my lead for my new Apollo X6. I've now got loads of holes. I've got loads of holes in. Yes. So that means I don't have to keep on plugging everything in. But I didn't have time to set it up properly. So I'm gonna sort this out properly from now on, because I've now got no excuses. Right. So I think I'm just going to start with this first bit because it was working. So let's do a quick splurge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a timer on it. I'm going to give myself for 15 minutes. Okay. What's going on here? Click track. That'll be why. There we go. Okay. Yep, there we go. I'll just leave that like that. Let's find out how much of this I've got to play with. In fact, while I'm doing that, I might as well play some stuff in. Turn that up here. It's a bit quiet, isn't it, for you? Alright, let's turn that up here. There we go. That should be better. Right. Use the just going to do a bit of a find a random preset thing, and again I'm not saying you have to. Oh god, come on. That will do. As you can see, splurging, going as fast as humanly possible. Goodbye, Frysig, sorry. Sorry for murdering your name. Alright, there we go. Let's go with that. Hey, Paul. to sort this camera thing out, don't I? So anyway, usually I'd have this set up on the template. There's an unusual number of bars. Cool. I'm just going to do that. That chord there, I'm not into it, right? But this is me not focusing on quality. So if I wasn't splurging, I would change this chord, but I am, so I'm not going to. Okay. And right, I've got 7 minutes, so I'm going to do this quick. And one way of doing that is to let's just see how that progression ends out. Okay, it's a 34 bar pattern at the moment, so obviously I stayed a little over on one of those chords, but let's just see, let's leave it and see what happens. You'll hear me saying, let's see what happens over and over and over and over again when I'm making music. It's all about just, let's see what happens, rather than, let's try and force this to be great right now. Okay, got another question there, I can see. Well, I'm doing a splurge, Paul. So Paul's asking, am I building a track from scratch? So I'm doing a splurge, which is how I start all of my music. I'm not going to build it all right now. I do at least one splurge a day. Here's all the splurges that I've done. Each of these is a card. Here's the splurges I've done in the last, I don't know, 2 years or so. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And then I only choose the ones that I want to work on. Ha! We are leveraging quantity to create quality. That's what we do in these parts. Okay. Oh, so I'm going to cheat. Let's just go there like that. And the reason I'm cheating is I'm just going to use a arpeggiator. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know. Hydrogena sounds like shampoo. Let's use the shampoo one. I wish I had locks that I could do a shampoo noise. here's what to do. So there's a problem there in that the piano is in the same register as that part. So again, that is a quality thing, but I want to be able to hear the two parts. Okay, so in that situation, I'm doing something about it because I want to be able to hear them. In future, mic wants to be able to hear them. So splurge is a technical term in Mike Monday land. There's a bit of outness there. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not even going to quantize it because I'm like that. I just don't care. Because this is a splurge. I mean, I do care. I'm being carefree. What's the opposite of careless? Most people would say careful. I say, no, damn you. No. The opposite of careless is carefree. And that's what we want to be. We don't want to be careless. We want to be carefree. And right, so I've put in some parts there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to think, right, what do I want to hear on its own? Maybe I just want to hear this. All right, let's see if that's... What do I want to hear in the future? What does future mic? Is that a bit? Yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to quantize that one note so that it picks up. One day I won't have to quantize anything when I've practiced enough. I'll just be able to play it in like a boss. Like a boss man. Unfortunately, I'm merely a... Why did that not work? Come on. Hello. Is the part in a weird place? Hang on. What's going on? Why is that not quantizing onto the... Hello? Maybe this is in the wrong place. Oh. Ugh. Oh, what else? Right, I'm just gonna do this. You will not defeat me. Right, there we go. And I can delete that one. No, not that one. See, it's not that. Oh, there it is. Strange. Anyway, okay. So, what do I want to hear in the future? So I'm just going to do this visually now. I need to stop because I've got a meeting. So what I want to hear, I think, is maybe just these two parts on their own. I wonder what happens to this at the end as well. Does it go mentalist? Whoa. the same thing again. My time has gone off, which means I've got to stop. Let's go there. Oh no. Go there. Let's just have that coming over the top there. And then just that on its own with that. Right. And I'm going to call that done. When I say done, obviously it's not done, but the splurge is done. Resolution. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And let's call it. Let me just think. Okay. What do we do? Oh yes. Bamboo is a plant. There we go. I was just trying to come up with a name related to the what were we in? C. Was it? Something like that anyway. Doesn't matter. C minor. So I'm saving that. Oh no, I'm bouncing that out. It's very, very important, so that I can listen to that in the future. And what will happen automatically is this will get create a card in here, yeah, which I'll then listen to. I'm then going to save the DAW file. I'm going to make sure I do that. So if I want to work on it in the future, I can, and then we'll be away. So that is the end of Splurge for today. I'm now going to go to a meeting. So I'm sorry about all the technical problems. As I said, it's because I got the lead for my new thing, which will sort out the technical problems, but I'm still in the process of sorting this out. But I'm going to keep on going, and we're going to keep on trucking with this so that it becomes a much better product than it is now, iterating as we go on. So until tomorrow, same time tomorrow, I will attempt tomorrow to do it on time though. I hope you found this useful. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sanitized, and onwards and upwards.